All right, we are live. Good evening, everyone. All two people. How are you doing? I'm Chell Roberts. This is Fantasy Cast Live, coming on a Friday night. We usually jump on Wednesday evening, but for reasons that I will explain, decided to wait till tonight. And in that reason I'm about to explain, I'm the creator, writer of Guardians of Erloth that was just launched this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central Time on Indiegogo. There is a link in the description. If you're unfamiliar with Guardians of Erloth, I will tell you a little bit about the story. You can check out the link in the description. Go check it out. Support it, back it, share it. It always helps. So this is our second go with Guardians of Erloth. We launched back on October 31st, Halloween of last year. Didn't quite meet our goal. Ended up finishing the book and got it printed, got it sent out to the backers, and now we are going for round two. So here on Fantasy Cast Live, I'm usually joined by Larry Holder. I think he's going to be absent tonight, so I'm flying solo. You're going to have to deal with me. And what we do is talk about all things fantasy. But tonight I kind of want to focus around Guardians of Erloth and explain the story a little bit more than what's on the Indiegogo. And hopefully you guys will check it out when you watch this, or if you're joining us, and you'll think about backing that. So I'm going to pull up the campaign, share my screen, get rolling here. All right. We're setting a pretty good pace. So I will get into, this is an article I kind of actually want to get into a little later on Star Wars. Samuel Jackson wants another shot at his Star Wars character, Mace Windu. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm a Star Wars aficionado, Star Wars fan, have been all my life. So we'll get into that. Guardians of Erloth, let me sign out. Actually, you don't want to see all that. Look at it from a neutral perspective. All right, here we go. So Guardians of Erloth, Volume 1, an epic fantasy tale of a king fighting to protect his kingdom from invading lizard men. So the inspiration behind Guardians of Erloth came from many, many avenues for me. I am a military veteran, and I think around 2003, 2002, I decided that, writing stories was something that was for me, that I wanted to do. And I love fantasy. I love science fiction. I grew up reading Dragonlance, and I've said it many times before. So if you're hearing this, you've heard me talk about it before, Dragonlance, big inspiration, as you'll see in the art, the creatures, characters. Also a fan of many fantasy series, including Game of Thrones, of course, the Wheel of Time series, which I am still working through to try to finish. And then some other smaller fantasy IPs like the Mossflower series, which I read as a little bit younger, by Brian Jakes. I grew up on Westerns, Louis L'Amour, Max Brand, Jack London, Mark Twain, of course, American greats. But market-wise, Tracy Hickman, huge inspirations for me in the fantasy realm. And then also John Ostrander and Jan Dersema. They wrote they did work for Dark Horse, writing Star Wars. Also huge inspirations for me as far as storytelling, the art. Well, apparently I'm getting an echo. Let me see if I can fix that. that fixed now? Hopefully. Let me see. Echo. Is that fixed now? Hopefully. All right. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone trying to see if the volume or the sound's a little bit better. Let me know, Albino. Thanks for joining. Nice to see you again. Always the faithful watcher. Yeah, I want them to hear the pitch as well. So it's a good thing you're here to tell me this, because I wouldn't find out till later. And then I have to delete the video. So let me know. Give me it got worse than better. Okay. Let me see something really quick. Nope. Want to do that. Oh, somebody joined. Do we have somebody on right now? I'm also getting an echo. Nobody's on. I thought someone might be on because I'm getting an echo in my ear. Seems like it may have gotten better. All right. See if this works. Let me fix this really quick. Sorry about that. All right. I think I'm good now. When you're doing a live stream, if you have it pulled up, make sure you mute the live stream on your computer. Otherwise, you'll hear it back. So, all right. Albino, I think we're good to go. I'll continue. Where was I? Let me share my screen again. No matter how many times I do this, always something. I think streaming is an art. You got to learn. Too many buttons. Hey, what's going on, Larry? Welcome, welcome. Trying to work my way through some technical difficulties, but I think we figured it out. Rookie mistake. It's a lot easier jumping on other people's stream. All right. We are back. All right. So as I was talking about a little bit of the inspiration behind Guardians of Erloth, it's going through kind of some of the authors that I grew up reading, like Trace Marquette Weiss and Tracy Hickman, Dragonlance. And so a lot of the creatures were inspired from those books. And I won't go delve too much into those if you haven't read them. But so Guardians of Erloth came out of a short story I had written or had outlined for a larger novel, kind of creating characters for this novel. And out of that short story came this story. And those characters were introduced to this larger story to kind of thicken the plot and kind of push the plot in a specific direction that I wanted to. And as a writer, you tend to write things and go back and rewrite and whatnot. I think we do have somebody with us now. Larry, how's it going?
Oh, what's up, buddy?
Not a whole lot. Just launching today, so doing a live stream. Welcome to Fantasy Cast Live. This is episode 4. And Larry, you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Well, I go by Larry, LP, LL Cool P. I'm a man of 1,002 nicknames. And Rebel Comics, Rebel Gaming, I write comic books just like you do, and I do a book called Niobe, and hard at work on doing a new issue with a new team, and then we got a reprint of the first issue coming to Indiegogo, and just starting to get the process of getting Avani, our spin-off book, off to the backers. So lots going on this summer in regards to all that good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw something pop up on Facebook earlier. I don't know. I don't want to put too much out there because I don't know, how many people are. I saw a July release date for, was it Niobe 2? Niobe 3?
Well, there's been 4 issues of Niobe.
Oh, 4 issues. Okay.
July is going to be the release for the second print of the first issue for Indiegogo. So it'll be like an Indiegogo exclusive cover and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And in August is when I suspect the brand new 2-part miniseries will be out.
Fantastic. Amazing.
So tell me what's going on with you, though, dude.
Yeah, so I was just showing my campaign, launching to do kind of some of the background of the inspiration behind it, and going through the campaign. So I'm gonna do that really quick, and we can chit chat. There's no really specific way that Fantasy Cast goes. We just talk about fantasy, our inspirations, stuff we like, stuff we don't like about current fantasy stories or TV shows or whatnot. So I do have an article I want to share and talk about, and you may have some input on that. So I'm not sure how much of a Star Wars fan you are, but I imagine you've seen it.
I'm a 5-year noob of this comic book industry, mid-tier Star Wars fan. Humble but yet elegant man. Humble merchant of Japanese pop stars.
You're gonna have to work on that spiel a little bit more.
Not as good as
not as eloquent. No, I'm just giving you grief. I think it maybe was written down by the person who wrote it and who says it, because I don't know that anybody can memorize that. And sure, maybe after a while. He's been doing it a while, so.
He's got that down, dude. Come on.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sitting at 43% on Guardians of Erloth. It was a low goal, and the reason for that was because I'd already finished the book, and I wanted to build up some momentum for the next one. But Guardians of Erloth Volume 1, the story is called The Last Leopard King, and this tale is about, and it's a 4-part tale, so there will be 4 of these. It basically talks about a king who has a infringement of lizards on his borders. They're coming in to invade his territory. They're settling his borders, and he's got to make a decision whether he's going to make peace to try to save his kingdom, or is he going to go to war and put everything at risk. So, and I'll just read the little overview. Volume 1 recounts King Adisa, and that's the king. And you'll see, actually it didn't pop up. There's supposed to be maybe it's because I'm not signed in, be a little picture up here over the overview. But King Adisa's valiant efforts to vanquish the Lysar, which are these lizard people, a bloodthirsty nation of lizardmen intent on destroying all he holds dear. As the battle rages, King Adisa must choose: save his only son, an heir from the clutches of lizardmen, or protect his kingdom from invasion. So this story will tell, it opens up kind of present day, and then it jumps back in time, kind of sets the tone and the landscape of the story a little bit. And then I won't get too much into that. In my previous campaign, I had focused on the beginning rather than the story as a whole, which may have not have been a good thing at the time. But yeah, so people who don't know, I launched it back on October 31st, Halloween. Ran it for about 60 days. Didn't meet the goal, but finished the book and putting it back up on Indiegogo to gain some momentum for Volume 2. So we have, and then I decided to go with a digital release. So what do you think about digital?
I think digital is a great and viable option. With the last Niobe, with the Avani Kickstarter, we had over 40 digital backers.
Nice.
And when you look at digital, like just from a creator point of view, saving dollars and cents, people who live overseas think digital is great because they don't have to pay shipping costs and stuff. Especially if they're just interested in just checking it out, reading the story, and it's one less comic you're printing and one less comic you're shipping. So it's basically free money because you've already done the work.
Right. Yep. And I had a couple people email me the last campaign, one from Canada, and he wanted to know excuse me, how, if I was going to offer this. And at the time I wasn't, it wasn't just something I was kind of a little afraid of pirating. I'm not sure, even for people ordering from Amazon or Comixology, how do they prevent, I don't have the tools in place to ensure that it's protected, you know what I mean? And
well, the only thing you could really do with something like that would be to have it kind of watermarked.
Right.
Even if it did get pirated out, there's this big watermark that, kind of has your logo on it or your name on it or whatever the case may be. But I mean, if you're going to offer something digital, the potential is that, yeah, someone can upload that anywhere else. I mean, it's true. It's a fact. But, when us small-time creators, that's actually, I'm going to be honest with you, not a bad thing. Getting the book out there, even if a few people kind of get it, illegally, if you will, it's still making some reach. And when you're this small, any reach is good reach. I mean, obviously,
right.
Obviously, we like to make the money from it. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not trying to, shift it any other way. But I would almost be honored if someone had uploaded Niobe to Pirate Bay. Like, yes, I finally made it.
Right. And that's kind of what I thought. It's almost like, it's kind of free advertising in a way, because I hope these two people who do buy do share it, because guess what's going to happen? The next one, they're going to, if they like the story, that is, they like the art, they're going to, they may follow me on Twitter. They may follow me on YouTube. They may catch wind of the next volume 2 and say, hey, I like the first one. And volume 2 is going to be even longer. This is 24 pages. Not your, I guess it's more closer to a floppy, which is pretty much what it is. And let me explain to people, there was 55 backers in the first one. They've all gotten their comic. And I went with a 80-pound cardstock cover, 80-pound inside, UV matte coating, and a high gloss. So I try to make it as good of a product as I could, and I think it was hard to make decisions because I had nothing in my hands to kind of gauge how they were going to turn out. But they ended up turning out better than I had anticipated. And I got some good feedback from the backers, so that's always good. And I talked to a gentleman on Twitter earlier today, and I think for small people like you and I, or maybe you're bigger than I am, but a small person like I am, who's unknown, nobody knows who I am, is customer retention, because a lot of these backers today, I'm at 43%, and a lot of them are returning backers from the first campaign. So if you make a good, decent product that people enjoy, and I have a lot of, a lot of props to my artist, Ryan Best, because I think he did a knockout job on this for me. And I'm completely happy. Not only did he do the interior art, the lines, pencils, all that digitally, he also colored it. So made it a lot easier for a first-time creator and a first project. So, hey, Draw and Talk, thanks for joining us. How's it going?
Mr. Carpenter himself, man.
Yeah.
Now, you want to talk about someone who's big. Tyler Carpenter's YouTube show it's really blowing up quite a bit. And dude, while I appreciate the comment, no, I'm not bigger than you, not by a long stretch. And I mean, some people can look at comics that way. Like look at like I'll say Brian Pulido, right? The god of Kickstarter. You know what I mean?
Right.
Lady Death. But I mean, when we're talking about this sort of ground level indies, where I think we're circling around, I don't think anyone is bigger than anyone else. I think while I think you have to have like a real certain level of success to be really considered to be upper tier. And like if you're doing Kickstarters and Indiegogos that do a couple of $1,000s, I mean you're barely making the grade, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. If you're doing Kickstarters that are like, say, Tom Hutchinson from Big Dog Inc. that are 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, then I would say, you've leveled up some. And then if you're hitting that, 6 figures, then I think you really got something. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's only one place to go up for someone such as myself, and that's up. And people who don't know me and who are getting to know me, who will watch my videos, they're gonna tell very quickly that I'm not the eloquent speaker. I'm not a good person to stand in front of a camera or on a mic and talk. But I think my best when I'm writing, and I'm in my happy place writing and having fun. And I think I will turn out probably the best stuff when I'm doing that. And then when I start making it, I just got to find somebody who can put it into words for me. You know what I mean? And
in your chat, you got Thunderbuns, man. And Thunderbun says, I just like saying the name Thunderbuns. That's kind of
yeah, he's a regular around here.
Albino Thunderbun says exactly what Antonio Bryce has said about brand. He wants it pirated to get in front of many people as possible. I'm seriously considering the same for my project. Tyler Carpenter says, I'm not big at all. You guys are doing great things. Once I make over 50K on a project, I'll say I'm big. 6 figures would be so nice, right?
Right. Yeah, that would give a lot of, for a person like me, a lot of creative freedom. You know how many books you can make with that? I mean, yeah, I know there's taxes and you got to pay your team, but it's always good to aim high.
Stuff, right? It's kind of
What's that?
So you need this thing called money to be able to
right.
do stuff.
Yep, I'm learning that. And I put this out on this project. I let everybody know, and I'm going to scroll down to it for the campaign, kind of why I'm relaunching it. I think it's going to be obvious to most people why I'm relaunching it. But not only do I want to get the story out there to build momentum for volume 2, but I want to cover as many of the costs that went into making this book and hiring the artist and the editor. I already paid for it, obviously, but it's not, it can't happen over and over again. It's not a good business model or a good business plan. So sometimes you
got to recoup some of your costs here. I absolutely agree with that, dude.
Right. You got to make some investments. I understand that, and that I knew that going in, and I had, fortunately, an opportunity to do that at the beginning of last year when I started this, because I had a little bit of extra income, but it's definitely not a long-term, solution for creating comics. And I'm starting to see, I hear people saying over and over again that if you want to make a lot of money, comics isn't the way to go. But for me, it's not only about comics. I have a novel I'm working on. I want to get more stories out there, not only in the comic format or medium, but also the novel medium. So I think in order to build this world and create these stories, you got to start somewhere. And I think this was the most direct route, I guess. Get it down visually, attract people to it, but so what we got new going on is a new cover for Guardians of Erloth, the phenomenal Kanan White. And yes, I'm coining the phenomenal Kane White, because he's phenomenal.
Well,
But
listen, you got Kane White on a cover here. I would be plugging that as much as I could.
oh yeah, we're getting there.
Well, because Kane White has a name in this industry, you know. I mean, Kane White, didn't he do a lot of work on Star Wars books and stuff?
Did Kane White?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't even know. I honestly don't. The first time I heard Kane White was on brand, to be honest with you.
Okay, so why don't we just do a little search right now? I'm going to do a little Google search on Kane White, and we'll see exactly what books he's been involved in. Because I'm going to tell you something, dude. This is a name I've heard of a few times here. Kane White, Marvel Database, powered by Wikipedia. Here, this is what we want. Comic find for Kane White. So yeah, he's been on Uber, which is a fairly popular book. He's done stuff for Grimm Fairy Tales.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see here. Kane White appears in 71 issues. Okay, well, let's find out. Yeah, he's done Van Helsing versus Robin Hood for Grimm Fairy Tales. He's done Robin Hood. Bunch of Uber. Let's see here. Everything you need to know about Red Riding Hood. He's been on Hack and Slash Resurrection. One appearance in Youngblood. Let's see here. Just a whole slew of Zenoscope books. So like Hellchild and Oz. And,
that's awesome. You know what? I got to tell you a little story. When I got this art back from him, and I sent it to my artist to color it. I reached out to somebody else, and they were a little bit too busy. So I reached out to my artist because he colored the first cover by Keith Hinman here, cover A. But as soon as he looked at this art, he responded to me. He's like, "This is Kane White." I was like, "Yeah." And I didn't realize that Kane White did Zenoscope because Ryan Best, who colored this, he worked on some issues of Age of Darkness. I believe it was Cinderella for Zenoscope and some other things. So he's been following them, he said, for probably a decade. And he's colored multiple things from him, but he knew who drew this without even me telling him. So I knew right away that, I mean, I knew before when I had reached out to Kanan, I knew how good he was. So when he had came back with this, it was just, it's phenomenal. What can I say? Phenomenal Kane White.
Yeah, so that's he's a no name in the industry, and yeah, I would be tagging him and plugging him, and every chance I had, man. And anytime I have a professional that helps me on a project, I make sure that people know about it because these people come with their own fan following. Like, for instance, I have the Paul Green cover for Niobe. Well, Paul Green also has done a lot of work for Zenoscope, exclusive covers for conventions and stuff like that, comics that generally kind of get graded and slab and go up in value. So I make sure everyone knows that, hey, if you like Paul Green, then you're going to want to pick up this cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, this Kane White cover B is definitely a main attraction for this campaign. And I have several tiers here that offer it. I'm going to go through this. The featured one, it would be both. And then also, you know, I've decided that out of all the art, that this piece of art was, you know, obviously really attractive. But it would definitely be something that I can see people putting up for display. And maybe I'm a little biased because it's, you know, it's my campaign, my work, but it's Kane White's art. And just when you have somebody like Ryan Best or Kane White draw something from your head, and you know, as a writer, you kind of send a character description, and you don't necessarily see every little detail, but you describe as much as you can. And when they come back and they exceed your expectations, that's a good feeling. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you've had that experience, you know, making 5 issues of Niobe, and was it one of Avani? Oh, we might have lost Larry. But yeah, so we have a digital tier for those who, maybe want to check out the story, and are overseas. And I'm not offering overseas shipping. It sounds like a huge headache. I thought I would test it with the digital. I think that's 2 people have backed it, and I got feedback from one of them, and he seems to be pretty happy, so that's good. But the featured here, we got the Knights, and it's for $20. You get cover A, cover B. Cover A being the original by Keith Hinman, colored by Ryan Best, and then cover B from Kanan White, colored by Ryan Best. And we got the Warrior and the Rogue. If you missed out on the first campaign, hey, Larry, you back with us?
Yeah, dude, I'm at work, so once in a while I'm going to have to put myself out of nowhere,
Yep. No problem. I thought maybe you dropped out or lost
connection. I'm just at work, but, I'm not even sure how long I'm going to be on for, but I just, I want to come on your show at least once since you've been so gracious to hop on mine so many times,
Yeah, so gracious to hop on and harass you a little bit.
Right. And, I'm glad that, you're making another round with this dude. Because, I think that you just didn't have the exposure that you needed the first time. And I think you have a lot more to show this time. And, the book is complete. And there is no reason not to run with it again, so.
Yeah. I would love to get more Kanan art in the future, but I know that he's a busy guy and he's going to be in demand. He's already in demand. He's already doing several big projects. So if you like Guardians of Erloth, and even for the people who backed it, this may be a once in a lifetime thing for me to have Kanan White draw a cover for me. So,
and like when you get someone like that on board on your project, it kind of blows you away, right? Like I mentioned Paul Green, and you're talking about Kanan White. We're talking about pros in the industry who've done work that's been published by companies, books you can find on the shelf in a comic book shop. And these guys are willing to, obviously they're making some money from it, but despite that, they're lending their name to your project, by working on it.
Right. Yep. And I hope it pays off. I think it will. I think it's good art. So even if this is a 24-page book, and I know 24-page books sometimes are harder to sell than your 48 to 76 and on up, the graphic novels, and that's why the next few will be longer. I had to start out somewhere, and being kind of new to the industry and new to the game, I had to keep it simple for me and manageable. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's good to have him do this for a 24-page book. And I know people will enjoy the book and the story. And then as we get into volume 2, volume 3, and volume 4, even if Kanan White's not attached to the project, you're still going to get the same quality storytelling.
Well, that's the good thing about variant cover art is, you can basically bring anybody in, and do something. And as long as you still have your initial team and your cover A, you're good,
Oh, hey, Albino Thunderbuns. All right. First he says, Chael, you and I might be brothers from other mothers. I'm forming a publishing company for comics and novels as well. This year I'm putting all the business stuff in place. Next year I'm publishing. Awesome. So when I started building this world, Albino, it was just novels and short stories, which I have yet to publish. The comic, I've always been a comic fan and reader. I mean, I'm not, growing up in the 90s, it was Jim Lee and now I'm going to forget his name, Spawn.
McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane, yes, thank you. Yep. Frank Miller. There was specific ones I knew because they were kind of, they were just well known. I didn't follow certain artists though, or stories. before even I had a job, I was renting them from the library, so I'd pick up whatever issues of X-Men or Batman that were available, and they weren't always in order. But so getting back to my original points, it just started out with novels, short stories, but this comic, I never thought in a million years I'd be a comic creator, is what I'm getting at. So it's kind of fun to actually do something that I've just realized in the last year that I wanted to do, or, and a way to turn my stories visual and kind of segue into, novels. So, and George R.R. Martin did it the other way. He wrote novels and then turned them into comics, or
sort of.
Yeah.
The thing with him is he was a big comic book fan growing up, and his first published piece was actually in a Marvel comic. He wrote this nice, huge letter to Marvel Comics, and when Marvel Comics published this letter, that really kind of set him off on his creative mode,
Okay. See, I always thought he got a start into script writing for television. I didn't know he, I should have.
He wrote a letter as a kid to Marvel Comics, and it got published, right?
Okay.
And that's what set him on his path to greatness,
Nice. Well, I'll tell you what, he's a phenomenal writer. I'm just kind of worried about how his book series is going to end, but that's for him to decide. It's his story. But getting back to the comic thing and publishing, Albino, good luck. I did it kind of all out of order. I made this before I even founded the business part of it, the aspect. So that's something that I did this year, and it's definitely a learning process. I don't know how it works up in Canada as far as, forming. I'm guessing you have your own LLC or something equivalent.
Oh yeah, of course. There's a fairly large shop where I live.
Okay. And he says, I just got 56% funded, and I got a Guardian backer. Awesome. So the Guardian is the 2 of cover A, 2 of cover B, 6x9 print, which is going to be the Kanan White print. And then the 11x17 Varanus poster, which is the red lizard guy here. And then a 5x7 print of Caius. So getting back to the story, you'll see Caius is on the front of the original cover A. And the story opens up with him. Here's a little bit of it right here. I posted 4 of the completed colors. And I mentioned earlier, it's a story that opens up present day, and then it kind of goes back in time, telling the origins of him. And it's in the form of a bedtime story. So he prevents this attack by these lizards people outside the ruins of the city called Pardis, which is the kingdom that you go back in time to. You see right here, and this is his father, and it's basically going to tell the story of King Adisa and how he has to protect his kingdom from these invading Lysar, which are the lizard men, and then he has to make an important choice that's going to have a long-lasting impact on his people. So volume 1 is going to be kind of setting the stage for the character's journey, and then later books will kind of tell that hero's journey. Excuse me, the character's the main character Caius' hero's journey. So we got 4 pages of art by Ryan Best, and again, colors by Ryan Best. This guy is awesome. I'm so glad he responded to my initial email. I found him online, along with a couple other people, reached out to him. He responded first, and I was able to actually look at previous work he had done. I told you he worked for Zenescope, so he did Age of Darkness, Cinderella story from that series. And he had
Cinderella
done.
is probably my favorite Zenoscope series, actually.
Oh yeah,
How just savage she is.
yeah. I mean, it was good. It was perfect for my kind of story for fantasy. And I like the art. It reminded me very much of Jan Duursema in that Old Republic series. Back in, I think they started in like 2004, and it ran up through, I want to say like 2010 or something. But before she jumped over to Star Wars Legacy in that 50 issue run. But just a phenomenal artist, and if you're creating a book in albino, a little bit of advice when you're reaching out to artists is find somebody. First of all, you got to be pretty straightforward and get kind of the timing, because I've realized artists, you can't push artists. You have to give them space, and you have to be patient. And I'm not always a patient person, especially writing.
With artists, and this is what I found, right? Two things, right?
Yeah.
One thing is deadlines. If they have a deadline, they're more liable to work at that pace, right? Mm-hmm. Not all the time, but sometimes for some people, sometimes it helps them to have a deadline set, Yeah. The other thing is when it comes to artists, a lot of times, here's a mistake that people make. People will pay for art up front, okay? Right. And once they do that, I find a lot of artists take their time. They procrastinate, and and the art doesn't get done, and the project doesn't move. Like the deal I got with my artist right now is he does a page, I pay him. He does a page, I pay him. And the reason why it's done that way is so it always keeps him hungry for more. You know what I mean? He knows that once he delivers a page, there's another $80 waiting for him, Right. And so we've done 4 pages now in like 2 weeks, which is a lot faster than what we were moving before. You know what I mean? With this new guy. Yeah.
And I think for me, it was a learning process. Like I'd never done it before. So what I did was I did 5 pages at a time. And that way, not only did it help him and me, it helped me when I got those pages back to make the story better, because I got the art and the art was good. And I would look at my story and see, okay, because I would give him I did like that. I think I can't remember if it's the Marvel method or the DC method or what. I would write out page by page and then panel I would give an overview of the page, what the story, what was going on, and then I'd break it panel by panel, and then each panel with the dialogue. And I tried to add as much detail just to give him something to work towards, knowing that maybe it's going to be a little different than what I had envisioned. Well, I also gave him the creative liberty, and I'm sure most artists do this because it's natural to draw things that, to work things how they see them, and it's always going to be different. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So sometimes he would add stuff that would be like, oh, well, I didn't tell him to add it, but that's awesome. And it gave me ideas, that I would change for maybe the next 5 pages or for even the story as a whole, which happened a couple times. So, and also in the first 5 pages, I gave him a page layout of what I wanted. Like I literally drew a diagram in boxes of exactly how I wanted to look for the first 5 pages. And for the most part, he stuck to it. And then I realized after page 5, like this page 3 right here on the right, top right, you see Caius over the lizardman. Well, I wanted it, originally I was like, make it so these 3 lizard shadows are looking up at him as he's coming out of the dark, kind of in fear or anger and hissing. Well, he drew it in boxes from the front, how the main character would see it, right? And as a writer, I was visualizing just the shadows of the back of their heads looking up at him. But then I listened to a EVS stream about perspective. And from this angle, that perspective would block out, most of the lower part of the page, right? So he came back with the 3 boxes of these, how they would be facing, Caius, rather than how the reader is viewing the back of their heads looking up at him. So it's those kind of things that he came back that actually, and because of his experience and my inexperience, that he straightened out for me, which is really good. I never got one email from him emailing me back saying, hey, look, maybe this would be better this way. He drew it and he knew what he was doing. So it's teaching me how to be a better writer and how to lay out my pages, to draw the box, even for the letter, how to, how they're going to look. Once I get the pages back, before they're sent to the letter, I kind of look at them to see how maybe where the boxes would be the best fit. And I don't tell the letter that, obviously, because the letter, he's also been doing this a lot longer than I have. So,
yeah, and that's the thing. You kind of, you want to get someone that knows what they're doing, right? Like when I did my issues 2 and 3, I didn't have a letterer. I did the lettering myself. And while I muddled by through it, I hired a professional letterer for issue 4, and it was night and day, dude. It was like night and day.
Yeah. And Albino says old school Marvel method is outline, pencil layouts, line art, lettering colors. And then old school traditional method was the same, except the writer gave a full script to the penciler instead of an outline. So yeah, I didn't have, going into this, I didn't know, I did research on comics and, how to make your own comic and how to start, because I had no idea. I grew up reading comics, but I never thought about making them. So it was a new concept for me. And even as wanting to be a writer, I never thought about writing a script for anything, because I knew scripts were a little bit different than writing a page or a chapter for a novel, right? So it was definitely, that's the way I naturally went, was a full outline. And that's kind of how I like it. I'm more comfortable writing that way. And after page 5, I didn't have to lay out any more pages for him, because I knew, I trusted him. I liked what I was getting back. He was doing it better than how I had envisioned it, so that trust was there.
It's funny how professionals know what to do, huh?
Right. He's been doing it. He's been doing it a bit. He went to art school. So, me, I went to business school. Anyhow. So yeah, this is, we've got, the first campaign I did a 11 by 17 poster of Caius, you'll see on the right there. This time, I wanted to make something new for the backers, and I learned that customer retention is key, because like I said earlier, a lot of my backers were backers from the first campaign. The Caius poster I'd offered, I wanted to do something a little bit different, so I offered the Varanus, the Destroyer this time, smaller print of Caius, and yeah.
Yeah.
And these both are drawn by Ryan Best and colored by Ryan Best. So this was promotional art he did, and this was even, I sent him kind of what I wanted, and once again he came back and exceeded expectations. And I don't know how they do it, but making it look, like that comic, and then making it more look like a movie poster for an animation movie. It's fun. It's fun seeing everything in your mind come to life.
Yeah, and the more visual it is, like you talk about transitioning from comics into novels, you never know what is going to be the next thing. Like making money in comics, you said earlier on, is hard, dude. It's because for a couple reasons. One is people don't know who you are, who your characters are. When they go to a con, they're not there to look at independent comic books. They're there to buy Harley Quinn prints, right?
Right.
But I mean, that's our job to make them know. But right now, the other problem that we have, and it's not really a problem, but we have just a huge boom in people making comic books right now for a market that a lot of people are saying is dying, right? So, when we talk about like a dying comic book market, but yet everyone is making comic books, the big difference is that while comic books are somewhat dying in shops and stores, it is really crowdfunding where the boom is happening. I almost look like the boom in the 90s, like when Image hit the scene and all that sort of stuff, and there was some excitement generated in comic books again. Well, it is kind of like that, but in the internet age. And in the internet age, this is all taking place on Indiegogo and Kickstarter and maybe, Amazon or eBay or something, where we're seeing these sales go down. And keep in mind, there's always going to be companies that are looking for the next thing. And that's, kind of what everyone's dream is. Who doesn't want to have the Guardians of the Erloth animated series or TV show or movie, right?
Right.
But you can't hang your hat on that, obviously. I mean, I have to accept the fact that Niobe may never be a comic that gets past, ground level indie status. Who knows, right? But the thing is, it will never get past it if you don't try. And life is somewhat short, So, if you're going to take a gamble, but understand it's a gamble. It's a guarantee, right?
You've got to build a foundation.
Oh, someone jumped on.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, it's Nerd. How's it going, Nerd?
Oh my God,
I am infinite. I am forever.
Well,
I love Guardians of Elroth. As you know, I backed the original one, so
yep.
I got to get that second cover. I mean, damn! I got the first one. Got to get the second one, guys. I really like that book. Like, honestly, I should probably do a review thing, but hide most of the cool shit so people will go buy it. But it's really good. Like, damn, that artwork. I'm like,
yeah.
And the story's really good too. So I'm all like, why, like, you losers going back at this, like, it's beautiful, like, beginning to end. It's just damn.
Well, thanks for backing, Nerd.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
She's legit excited, dude.
Like, I love this book. I love this book along with Monster MD. It's another big one. These are my two favorites, probably. Like, a lot of books I really love. I like to shill the shit out of. And this was honestly one of my favorite books to read. I was like, oh my God, I got it in. And
well, let's not go too far. It was there's some good books out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good books, but this one, I guess I'm a sucker for fantasy. A lot of people actually in CG have been talking about that. I've actually asked them before. It's like, what comics do you want to see more of? And they're like, well, we have a lot of Kate stuff, but I'd love to see more fantasy. A lot of people are looking for fantasy. Well, we got it right here. Like, look at that. We got some people, like some nice chivalry fighting lizard men. I mean, that's like,
I don't think it gets much more fantasy than that, brother.
Yeah, it's like fighting Argonians and Dragonborn. I mean, come on, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? I had this discussion multiple times with Edwin. God bless his soul. He knows that fantasy's a harder genre to sell.
It is.
And that's fine. I try to let the artwork do most of the selling because I'm not a good spiel person. You give me a minute to give a spiel. Let me write it down first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you then because love this. Okay. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get a picture of Alex Jones, and then we're gonna show him holding the book and then screaming, "I told you all along."
Turn the frogs gay.
Or no, well, he's also notoriously known for saying that the liberals are all are lizard people. So we're going to use that, and we're going to market it. And then it's like, finally, the truth is revealed. Because people love the memes, but you gotta know how to meme, though. That's the thing, because we don't want to get down with the kids. We don't want to do that with the. I just saw Endgame and I saw Hulk dab, and I was like, oh God, why?
I must have missed that. He dabbed.
He dabs in the beginning when he gets a selfie for kids. He's like,
oh, that's right.
Listen
in the
to
diner.
Your parents. Yeah, and I'm like, I know this is meant to be like you're out of touch and you're trying to be, but at the same time, it just hurts, man. It's like part of my soul has just vanished out of my life.
That's like the bottle flipping thing. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's like
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's like, dude, this is their time. Do not interfere.
Right.
But,
don't mess with the 9-year-olds. Let them do their thing.
So yeah, but it's a really good book. I honestly think it's really great for everybody. Like, oh my gosh, I love the artwork. I love the story. It's got a cool like medieval kind of thing, and yeah, we got little bits that maybe the woke people will like. It's like, hey, they ain't white. There you go. Well, while we can't say it's racist, filled with white cis male, what gentrification takeover of society, it's like, no, I don't see on white people.
Yeah, and this is only the first book, so there will be white people. It's coming.
Yeah,
it's gonna give me time.
I mean, like, we got this kick-ass king dude, and kick-ass king dude is like, oh no, the lizard people, we gotta fight the lizard people, and they're like, yeah, fight the lizard people. And it's it's really cool.
Let me tell you something about Caius, my main character. I was a huge fan of The Rock growing up, WWF or WWE now. And in 2002, when I came out of basic training, is kind of when I started formulating this. So when you're in basic training, one of the things is you got to live inside your own mind. I mean, you have nothing. You've got the clothes they give you. You got to find a way to stay sane. You know what I mean? That's what they do is they try to break you, right?
That's
so. Yeah, so one of the things I did was I thought about the books I had read before I went into basic trade because I was an avid reader growing up. And there were some books that I read that I was like, you know what, these endings are stupid. I could have written these better, right? Yeah. So that's when I realized I kind of wanted to write. Yeah. So fast forward, I get out of basic training in 2002, the Scorpion King comes out, right?
Yeah.
And it just like triggered something in me, like my imagination. You know, you get to see the Anubis creatures at the beginning, and you know, you got his braided head, and he's just like kicking ass, taking names, right?
He's beating the crud out of everybody. He's freaking. I never got to see that movie. I wanted to.
Right, and actually, I'm sorry, that's the beginning of The Mummy 2 is when he does that. But fast forward to the Scorpion King, you got him just like sneaking into a camp with his brother, putting arrows into people. Yes, it was right up my alley being a fantasy fan. So this character is half inspired by The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, being a fan. If you smell what The Rock is cooking. Sweet. And Idris Elba from Thor, the original Thor, first Thor. So those two guys mixed together, you know, The Rock's build, his height, and Idris Elba's like demeanor. Could you see him as kind of a womanizer? Like you can see Idris Elba like drinking. That's why when people say he should be 007, like I can picture him as 007 because you can picture him drinking a martini.
He's got that classy feel. He's got that regalness and like this.
But The Rock likes pie. He said it many times.
Yes,
many kinds of pie.
Like you got the brawn and the nobility into there because Elba represents the nobility and class, while The Rock is the brawn and strength.
Right.
Fine.
And you read the book, nerd, right?
Yeah.
So there's a scene in the book where you kind of get the feeling that this guy right here, he's a warrior. He kicks ass, takes names. He's a Scorpion King, but at the same time, he likes drinking, and he may be a little bit of a womanizer.
I do not even care. I mean, honestly, I don't understand when people are like, whatever with the woman. I'm like, bullshit. You just aren't like you. It's just not to your taste because all the other girls are like, oh yeah, I would definitely.
And I'm not advocating womanizing by any means, but in this character, he, you'll find a little bit more. Obviously, he's mostly a child in the recounting of the story.
I'm not offended by this at all. I honestly find this much better because honestly, I think the current age actually restricts a lot of art and so forth and storytelling. And it's like, who cares? Honestly, at this point.
Let me tell you something. I attended my first con ever. Like, I lived in San Diego for 2 years. I never went to Comic-Con, and I regret it.
No.
So my first customer at MSP SpringCon 2019 was, what was he, probably 8 or 9 years old?
Yeah.
So this kid pulls up with his dad and his brother. Older brother's probably like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
He's standing in the front. His brother's right next to him. The dad's behind him, just letting them do their thing, right?
Yeah.
And they're staring at the book. I got the whole setup going on.
Yeah.
This kid just nods his head like he's from Mad Men, decides that he wants to spend his money. And he starts reaching back, right? He's like, yeah, I think I want this one. And his brother pulls out his wallet, opens it up, like Velcro and all. You hear it, opening. Yeah. Goes to reach for money to give to his younger brother. Well, the little kid puts his hand up like The Rock, like Jabroni stop. Puts his hand up, says, "No, I got this," and pulls out his own wallet with Velcro, pulls out a $5 bill and slaps it on the table. That was my first customer, 8 or 9 year old.
That is so freaking cool. I'm not lying. That is the coolest story. And this is what this is what people dream of having. That first customer, as amazing and as fantastical as that. Like a little kid, you have lit up their life so much that they want to be the one to put it, to earn it themselves. And even the elder brother was willing to pay for it for him, but no.
No, he put the kibosh on that.
Yeah, he was like, I'm going all in. No, I need this to be my own worth because this is worth it. And right. That is so cool. But yeah, this comic is so worth it. I mean, oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I can talk about this forever. I backed the original. Like, if you look in the book, my name is in the back of the book.
I honestly didn't know you were a backer because I don't know your real name. Yeah, but when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's cool. And, there was another individual who was female that backed it that I didn't know it was her. And I think I only had 4 women back the book, 3 or 4, and which was good for me. And I was impressed because, it's mostly male characters. Yeah. But it was kind of cool. And I found out who they were, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
The issue is, as well, that people don't get, is that women actually don't go to movie theaters or stuff to go see other women. We go to see hot, sexy men.
Hot men, yeah.
And this book is filled with hot, sexy men.
I think Aquaman did so well, right?
Yeah, Aquaman, okay. Captain Marvel had mostly a male viewer base. But Aquaman had mostly a female viewer base. As I joked when Aquaman was coming out, is that why don't you go watch the real chick flick? And Captain Marvel was coming out. I'm like, I would like to go see the real chick flick, please. Aquaman, hello. Yeah. That is obviously meant for women. Actually, I like to joke around, which is, I still believe this. The Avengers is actually a chick flick.
I hated Aquaman.
It's a bunch of shirtless men.
Yeah.
Hot, sexy, slim, shirtless men running around and punching things and looking hot while doing it. It was
the same thing with Wonder Woman, too.
Yeah. Wonder Woman, we had sexy men. I mean, I think Wonder Woman's more of a dude movie because you got the sexy girl and she's like, stop, I am so mysterious, but also really, really cool. But I loved it anyway. I'm like, hello, what is this? And it's like, hi, you liked Captain America? I am like Captain America. I also like to punch Germans. I love that. I love that movie so much. But but yeah, Captain America, hello. So in other words, actually, I just feel like at times it's just the media and so forth. It's how they market it that they like to market like women. You shouldn't like this. Don't bother looking at it. But in reality, oh no, we would love it.
Right.
At the market, right? It's like sexy men. Obviously, Age of Ultron was utter crap, but women went to see it.
Right.
Because we had the shirtless axing wood scene. There's no reason to have that in there except for sexy shirtless Captain America.
And this happened long before that, because I remember in the 90s, the only reason my mom wanted to see Zorro was because of Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
I mean, he's perfect for Zorro. As a little kid, I loved Zorro.
Right. I loved it too. For different reasons, but my mom liked it for Antonio Banderas.
I didn't think he was hot or anything as a little kid. I was always like, well, because I would watch him on Disney in black and white, and he was like, I was like, he's like Batman except with a sword, because he's like, how's it going? And then he just goes, and flies away. I thought that was
he's like, he goes from an alcoholic and street bum to like.
Yeah, the movie
Batman.
was really good too, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And yeah, I liked a lot of action movies as a kid. I actually complained whenever I saw like make-out scenes. I'm like, not now, more blood, more gore, like Underworld. Underworld is obviously for men because the main character is a woman. And that's obviously a chick flick. If it was
Beckinsale.
Like,
love it. I own it.
I mean, it's a great series. I'm not gonna lie. Like her boyfriend or / husband, whatever.
And Serendipity, I own too.
She's pretty goddamn hot. And then, but I loved it when they were exploding and shooting everybody. But then we get to the scene where they're just like alone, but like, let's make out and have sex. I'm like, no, go back to the car chases and the explosives and the bullets. Damn it, I'm not here for sex. I'm not here for my.
You and I lived very different childhoods. I mean, I like explosions, but Catherine Zeta-Jones and that semi-see-through dress and Zorro.
I cannot blame you. The thing is, though, of course, I'm a girl, so my priorities are heavily different. So yeah, that's gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah, she was really pretty. I don't like Underworld Girl as well. Like a bunch of girls realized that day they're like, oh my god, I'm bisexual because damn.
You know how many times I rewatched the middle part of Terminator just for that one scene? Or Top Gun.
Yeah,
and I was young. I mean, in the 80s, I was pretty young. So
you're fine. Like honestly, this is why I just like to remind people. It's like, hey, don't yeah, there's an untapped market out there, and you want to know what people are looking for fantasy. We just gotta let them know it exists, because I love this book, and hopefully his father lets him buy the next one. Heck yeah! I'm just gonna like I'll probably do a video review if you'd like. I'll go over it with you, so we make sure that I don't give away the cool parts of the book. But I'll do some cool shit. Like I love this book. I love it. I like screamed for it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like I saw it the first time when it was first being done, and I was so taken away by the artwork. And of course, you didn't tell me a lot about the story, but then I immediately read it. When it gets into my hands, I'm like, I gotta read this. I gotta read this now.
Ryan is the best. Ryan is the best.
I was exhausted. I was going back and forth. I was visiting my family. I help out my parents. They live like way up north. It's like an hour or two drive up there. But because I go up there so often on Saturdays and stuff, I end up just asking most of the backing books to go up to there. So lo and behold, I come up and there it is. I am exhausted. I was having like a rough week of just doing nonstop work and cram time. And there it was. And I was so ecstatic. I was like, oh, hell yeah. And I just went up to the guest room. I'm like, don't bother me. Just read it all. I was like, oh, this is nice. Ah.
I don't know I don't know how you do it, but for me, 24 pages is hard to talk about without giving away stuff. You know what I mean? So, like I said, my biggest problem is giving a spiel, like a 1-minute spiel. I can't do it for this book. As a writer, you've got all this stuff in your head. It's hard to like, and that's why you know what? I had somebody. I won't mention who because she doesn't want me to, but I had somebody type this out for me because they were better at it. You know, that outside perspective helps.
Yeah, it does help. And I'm more than willing to help you out as well. There's a lot of people in this community that like to help out other people, even people outside of the community who are willing to help. Like I love seeing a piece of work, a piece of art. That's what it is. This is a piece of art, and I love sharing it. I'm like, you need to see this piece of art. You need to see this. You must see this. So I review things that I love. I tend to not review things I hate because everybody does that. Everybody reviews things they hate. But I like to review things I love.
So that's kind of a good segue into the next two sections. And Nerd, I'm going to ask you, I'm under the audience part right now and then the reviews. And Larry, I've got a copy for you. You just got to let me know when, man.
Yes.
I'll send it your way. What's that?
I didn't catch what you said there, bro.
I said I have a copy for you reserved, so whenever you want it, you just let me know.
Oh,
where to send it.
I mean, I always meant to thank you for putting my name in the book. You got me listed with Edmund Boyette and John Malin, which is quite the company to be associated with, you know?
Yeah, well, you were the first to let me on your channel last summer. I don't know if you remember that stream. It was quite a memorable stream, actually.
Was I doing it? Probably, yeah.
There was a lot of haziness going on. I'll put it that way.
No,
and,
the cookie stream. That's what it was.
Yeah, that was the cookie stream.
Yeah.
And so Nerd.
Yes.
Would you agree that if you're a fan of fantasy, you enjoy action-packed, you appreciate amazing artwork, you want to support indie creators, which is me, indie artists, Ryan Best, Kanan White, which I have a feeling they'll be mainstream soon enough.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, would you recommend this book to people? I know it's 24 pages, and in the future, I have plans to expand it.
Yes.
Even though the most of the story you'll get in the 24 pages.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, because there's like
it's
even more. What would you say?
Yeah, would you recommend it?
Yeah, I would. I'd recommend it tenfold, mofo. I mean, seriously, no. This series, breathtaking, brilliant. I am in love with it. You guys. I mean, I'm wondering if we can market it as well to the Game of Thrones fans that are pissed off at the ending. It's like, didn't like that ending of Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
You'll love this. Hey.
Yeah, I still think Jon Snow should have been on the Iron Throne. It just boggles my mind. Like, okay, yes, you don't like happy endings. You like surprises. You did that in season 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You did it in season 1.
I mean, I get where they're going with some stuff, but it's like, this is too forced. Is it because you got you got greenlit to go do Star Wars that you're like, let's get out of here, instead of being like, maybe we should make it more interesting, because it's like, why do you kill her? She did nothing wrong, really. I'm like, well, she's got but she attacked innocent people, and it's like, and those people beheaded her best friend. Her dragon just died. I mean, I'd be in a mood. I mean, I get the metaphor they were doing at the end.
Right.
At the same time, it's like, no, she wasn't evil. She was just pissed off and angry. And somebody her new husbando should have just been like, no.
I'm glad this is Fantasy Cast, because this is perfect. I wasn't too upset about the Daenerys thing, even though I like Daenerys.
Everybody loves Daenerys.
My character was Jon Snow, though. Yeah. That was because he's, I have an affinity. My best friend growing up was what you call a bastard, had no father. Parents were unmarried. He was mixed. I have an affinity for, bastards and broken things, whatever that line was.
Yeah.
And I came from a big family. My parents have been married. They're still married for, 50 years almost. Well, maybe not that long, but pretty damn close.
Cool.
But, like 45 years. And, I had a big family. I was a middle child in a big family. So I liked the opposites of what I was. I liked the people who are, I like the characters who have things working against them. And they have to, work their way up, right, in the plot. So Jon Snow should have been on. Why would you kill him, bring him back to life? Then you find out for sure that he's, the son of Aegon Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. And then he just goes back north of the wall.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Along with like Arya, like whatever. Arya was always my girl because you know, like as a little kid, I always felt like I didn't want to. I guess wanted to be more of a tomboy. I felt that
right,
like I didn't want to wear dresses. I didn't want to do this or that. And then you kind of regret like, and then you go back and you're like, those things weren't as bad or something like that because like she wanted to be a fighter. She wanted to do the cool things that her brothers were doing, and then like stuff becomes very dark and she's filled with so much anger. Though a friend of mine kept saying that he never really got into the series, and he says Arya always sounds like a Mary Sue, and then we're all like trying to defend it, like no, she's Mary Sue. It's like sounds like she got everything handed to her. We're like, son of a bitch, is he?
No,
she's never.
No, she worked for the. I mean, they developed her character enough in the show.
I love them. Yeah, I like her along with like
she shouldn't have killed the Night King though.
Yeah,
that should have been Jon Snow. They built up the Jon Snow Night King for like 5 seasons.
The thing is,
she should have killed Cersei. Yeah.
I feel like, that would have been so cool if she killed Cersei because that was like her whole entire thing. She had the list, and Cersei was the last one on the list. And it's like, at least give her that. I get it with the blue eyes or whatever, but I think also Cersei had blue eyes, so it would have been cool if she shanked her and said, that's for everything. Because Cersei is the nightmare that started this all. She is the reason everything has gone bad. And I was mad that Jamie went back to like go bang her or whatever. Why did you go back with the biggest fucking nightmare of the series? Number one, your dad's a terrible person. His dad's like, I do this all for the family. It's like, no, you're just retarded and you're a terrible father. I mean, you're so bad. And no, it didn't start when you had Tyrion. It started ever since you raised the first two because you raised them so badly. They only banged each other. Like, damn, you suck. You are.
Well, you talk about favorite characters. First of all, the Mother of Dragons is future Mrs. Higgins. Just to let you all know.
Is what?
Is future Mrs. Higgins. My future wife, you're talking.
You know her hair's not white for real, right?
It will be when she marries me.
Didn't they bring her in to the Terminator, and she's the Sarah Connor of the Broken Timeline or something like
that?
Yeah, I've never seen that movie.
Yeah,
and my favorite male character, and you guys mentioned him, is Mr. Jaime Lannister.
Yeah, he's a good character actually.
Why didn't he go with Brienne of Tarth? Because everybody loves her. Like, it was kind of cool. Like, I like that how it was like. I actually talked to somebody about it the other day. Like, I was like, why is it that every time we have a woman with like a short haircut and is built bigger and maybe a little bit more gruff, they have to be automatically a lesbian? Like, that's the man. Like, all of them are always lesbians. And then somebody's like, that's why I like. I was like, can we just not have that? And then it's like, yeah, I like Brienne of Tarth. I wish she went with Jamie, and then I got really sad because I was like, I wanted that too.
Yeah, it wasn't a big surprise to me that he went back to Cersei because here's the thing, Jamie, he was a man of honor. He said, hey, we'll help you fight the Night Walkers. We'll bring our army. The Lannister army will come up there.
Yeah.
And he was the only one that went up. But hey, he made the pledge and he went. Yeah. He never said, I'm going to completely betray my sister.
Of course not. But at the same time, he had that friendship with Brienne when they were working together and so forth, and he had sympathy for her and everything. And she kind of woke up this ability because they cut off his arm. And so he's like, how can I fight? It's like, you have another one. Get up and be a warrior. And it's like she restored everything about him, that he was having such issues and stuff. And it's like, she's here and he's making fun of her, and then she like proves all this stuff. And it's like, oh my God, there's like chemistry. Like, at least you two should be friends and you should ally yourselves because your sister is a living, you know this. She's killed all your kids. She is a freaking nightmare. Tyrion, I'm sorry. She was abusive and a living nightmare to you. Let her go. Just let her go. Jamie, stop banging her. She causes you nothing but trouble. Like,
good times. Yeah. It's sad that it's over, and I think the show went downhill without the books as the source material.
Yeah, I mean, R.R. Martin's working on them, which is good. Also, he's working on a video game, which is strange, but okay.
Which video game is that?
He's working with the Dark Souls team. They're a new series together. I mean, who else would you ask to join up into a series that kills your character over and over and over and over again? I was like,
in your chat, we gotta give out some shout outs here. One is 60 Reese, that's Mike Rogers from Bleeding Fool. And he says, good evening, everyone. We have also a different Mike. We have Mike Soilo in the house, and he says, hey. Let's see here.
Oh, that's 60 Reese is a Bleeding Fool?
Yeah, that's my real life buddy, Mike, and he does episodes over for Bleeding
Fool is the only comic book news source you rely on along with Bounding into Comics. This is no lie.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this. Actually, somebody give me a link to this to the stream so I can share it with everybody.
There's a link on my Twitter if you follow me there.
I should follow you, but I follow a lot of people. Hang on.
So to Mike, I don't remember who I sent the email to. I don't think it was Mike. It was somebody else from Bleeding Fool. But thank you for he's basically forwarded the digital copy of my comic to their reviewer. No. I'm still waiting for the review. I'm kind of scared because I haven't heard anything yet.
Dude, it's such a good book. I mean, I liked it. I enjoy a lot of things. I don't enjoy all the things, but
it was a simple enough read, right? It was easy to understand and follow.
It's amazing. It's easy to go and totally tell what's going on. And
Nerd Wonder's got a compliment here in the chat. It's from Thunderbuns. And Thunderbuns says, great job on the Graveyard Shift Ashcan. I don't normally like the book, but I really enjoyed your art, and I'm going to let my kids read it.
Aww.
Yes.
Well, I hope you're ready, because I know there's going to be a Graveyard Shift 2, and there's definitely... Yes?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's going to be a second Graveyard Shift, and there's a second Ashcan.
Nice. Were you supposed to announce that, or is Malin holding that in reserve?
Well, I know that he's always been planning on a second.
Oops.
Well, no.
It's out there now.
What are you talking about?
No, I mean the Ashcan.
No, he's asked people online if anybody wants to go help. Like he was doing a contest for it.
Oh, okay. I must missed all these because early
in the year he was asking like for
gotcha.
help on that. So yeah, I found out the winners. You're gonna love that one.
Nice.
Got some add-ins for it. So yeah, you guys already know he's doing a new Graveyard.
Yes.
There's going to be some extra people. I think it's either an Ashcan or a mini story with some other people, so it's going to be really good.
Yeah. So I have to quick shout out to John Malin because he had me on his channel, and I was actually reviewing some of my backers and when they backed from the first campaign because we obviously surpassed it tonight. And for me, I set the goal low because the book's already there. But he helped me find a lot of backers and get a lot of backers on his live stream. So I want to thank him for that. It must have been all the wolf's milk he forced down my throat.
That sounds like furry porn. Ew, you first.
See, here's the thing about Malin. He thinks he lives in the north. He's not the north. Minnesota's the north.
Please stop saying that. I'm sorry, Malin. I mean, I can't say much because I'm just immediately a shill for Malin.
No, I love Malin. Like, I can't get enough of Malin. The fact that his hero, Rob Liefeld, blocked Malin makes me like Malin even more.
Wait, what?
So,
Rob Liefeld blocked him?
Yeah, Liefeld blocked. I found out the other day Liefeld blocked Malin because Malin, it's like somebody posted a thing to his Twitter. And he's like, well, if I wasn't blocked, I could see this. And I follow both of them, so it's pretty. I mean, I tend to try to keep my P's and Q's on Twitter. I don't like getting into that crap, but
it really breaks my heart because I know like they worked together for a long time. Like that was his. Like damn.
So as far as I know, that he got blocked, and I'm a Malin fan. Like I didn't know who Malin was a year ago. I mean, about a year ago, I found out who Malin was. So I'm a fan of Malin. Malin's a cool guy.
Malin is a great guy. I love Malin.
But he does not live in the Winterfell of the United States. I live in the Winterfell of the United States. I'm in Minnesota. It's cold here.
I lived in Utah.
Look, I live beyond the wall in Canada.
Yeah, you're wildling
territory, you know?
Yeah.
You live on maple syrup and saying I'm sorry all the time, along with my friend Switch. I live now in the southern areas, as everybody knows, where there's
I don't know this.
Where the land of the Whataburgers and the Buc-ee's are.
So I've driven through Utah. It's a depressing state to drive through.
No, it's not.
It's beautiful, but like it's all there's not enough green for me.
Oh yeah. Well, it's very snowy. I lived up in the mountains tops of it, so I lived in
gotcha.
area. So my grandpa used to come and visit, but then he had to stop because the air is so thin up there that
really?
It's collapsing, and they were like,
it's like Denver.
So it's like, is Grandpa coming over? And then my mom's like, not good for him to come anymore, sweetie. We'll go visit him. Okay.
So to get back to the reviews really quick, nerd, we've got 4 reviews, and these are posted on here because they're posted on Twitter. So it's we're not really giving anything away as far as backers. But so Twin Super Cannon, he recommends it, and I thank him for that. And he got the first volume, the last campaign in the mail, and it's better than expected. So when I was going through this initially, I told you I have a hard time taking everything in my mind and condensing it into a 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and really explaining to people the direction and kind of what's going on in this book. It's probably my Achilles heel. It kind of hurts the marketing, but was it what you were expecting?
What was I expecting from it?
Was it the story? Yeah. Was that what you were expecting?
I wasn't fully expecting that, to be honest. Like, I didn't know. I knew it was beautiful fantasy with some sort of battle elements. I didn't see all the pages, but I knew I had to have it immediately when I saw the artwork. And it is a brilliant story. I honestly have to say, if you love this is a war. It is a medieval war that you have never seen before done in comics. You have never seen this ever.
So like I know I didn't explain it the best in my first campaign, and it was a struggle for me because I was on Malin's channel at one point, and we were talking about it, and he always reminds people, hey, you got a minute. And sometimes when you're talking, and I'm not a good person on the mic or in front of the camera, but you get a little sidetracked with details. It's hard to give an kind of an overview of the story. But I knew it was better than I was explaining. I just couldn't explain it the way I wanted to. And, I got some good feedback, and I'm like this Twin Super Cannon. So I'm happy that he liked it, and I knew the story was better than I was explaining. I just couldn't explain it that way,
Well, we're all here to help you if you ever want some more help with this, because I freaking love the book.
I'll never refuse help.
I honestly, okay, everybody, you like seeing kick-ass like medieval people you have never seen before fight a battle that you have never seen in kick-ass comics before. Well, this is it, because it is literally lizard people versus kick-ass badasses, like everywhere, like pa-chew, they got the cool swords.
That sounds like Star Wars.
Okay, fine.
That's the can. And I was a little. There's upcoming in Volume 2. There's a little Tatooine cantina scene that are inspired by that. So the Pachu might work.
They gave like a real good, like, you gave us the origin as to why the war started. And I'm like, right. Can't blame them. And then they're like, but what about this and this? I'm like, did you just see what they did? Yeah, this is gonna start some chaos. Okay. You screwed up everything, mofos. And it's like time for war, and I'm like, that's gonna happen. Let's go see you shake some baddies around here. And it's like, choo, but it's like, it's excellent. The builds, the bodies of everybody looks different. I love the king and his whole entire garments. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, there was a little bit of Black Panther inspiration there. I told Ryan, I saw somewhere this throne that, and in the movie you don't see this because this throne is a little bit more super tech and where he's what is it called where he's from, Black Panther? Wakanda. Thank you.
Yeah.
I forgot. Okay, so Wakanda's more like Atlantis technology. They're built around nature and technology, right? They kind of work in tandem. So I wanted something more in nature that wasn't technology. Obviously, it's fantasy. So in the book, for people who haven't read it yet or seen it, there's a throne, a stone throne, and at the top of the stone throne is the engraving of a leopard or a jaguar or whatever you want to call it, or a panther.
It's really cool.
So I saw that somewhere in a drawing. I loved it. I wanted that incorporated because I wanted to keep it separate from, I didn't want it to be exactly like Black Panther. I wanted a different reason why he was called the Leopard King. And that's the title. And I didn't release that title till later on. I think after the campaign might have been over. So The Last Leopard King is the title of the series. And there's volume 1, 2, 3, 4. Guardians of Erloth is the overlying title, and it's kind of similar to in drafting a comic and thinking of a comic. It's hard to do. Like, you have Marvel and then you have Spider-Man. Let's say Homecoming, just for example. So there's like 3 titles there, a title and like 2 subtitles, right?
Yeah.
So you got Guardians of Erloth, The Last Leopard King. It's volume 1. And I wanted to come up with a story that was original to these characters, why he was called the Last Leopard King. And it's basically the history of Pardis. Pardis in Latin is panther. Yeah. And I wanted to make kind of a center to the civilization. They honored and revered the panther, or the leopard. Yeah. And the kings, as a rite of passage when they were children. Do you remember in 300, at the beginning of the movie, you see...
Oh, yeah, they fight the wolf?
Yes. So I wanted to make it similar. I wanted to be meaningful. So the coming of age, they go out into the jungle by themselves, similar to how Native Americans did their dream walk, how Australians did their walkabout, the Native Australians. I wanted to make is inspiration from that. So they go out into the jungles at the coming of age. So, 12, 13, 14, wherever it is, basically puberty. And they have to hunt, and they're trained up until then, but they have to hunt a leopard in the jungle. Oh, and they have to come back with the skin. And that's the skin they'll be wearing for the whole reign. And this is the kings. This is just like the princesses, the leaders of Pardis.
Nice. I did like as well. So it's like their family crest.
Correct.
It's like
their sigil.
Yeah, it's their sigil, which is really cool. And the way you do it is brilliant. It's beautiful. Like, everything about the story is really nice. It is well paced. You can immediately understand what's going on. It's very, like, you just immediately learn what this war is all about, and then they get straight in, like, they start in the action, and then they give you the origin of the war, and then they continue on these crazy adventures, and it's like, and I'm already like, oh man, I'm invested. I want the next book. I want to read more of those. This is a very good book. It's really nice book.
Well, hopefully I can expand on this first book, in the future. It was hard to condense into 24 pages, let me tell you.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm looking at it, like, I'm like, my God, I want more. But yeah, it's like, it's
yeah.
So showing more pages as well in this one. So it's, I mean, no, wait, maybe not. I think that there was maybe
there's 24.
Yeah.
24 in this one, and it's future volumes will be at minimum 48.
I love this, like all of it is just really good. I love how like he read, like you can immediately tell from the 4 pages that he showed, like at least the first 2, it's like he just rescued a bunch of kids from these like lizard guys that were gonna do bad things to these kids, and then he's like, I have come and I got a cool leopard and a hawk because I'm a baller hero. Look at
So
me.
we got an update from Albino. He says we're at 60% funded. So Thank you for everybody's back this book tonight. That's huge for me.
I'm gonna like just chill it for the rest of the day because for a while, like I do my own, like I do a lot of work on other stuff, but this is a good book. I love this book. This book is very good. I love this book. Everybody go buy a book. Go buy a book. I'm always sad when the books I love don't get funded, and I'm all like, why? I love that book. I love that book. I love that book. I love that book. This book is really nice. Like, look at that beautiful. Look at this beautiful stuff. I really love this cover with this big lizard man warrior. He looks almost like a dragon, but he's not. He's just like a huge warrior. Like he looks like he would be a chief general. And there he goes fighting the king. And the king he got him.
So it's
so cool.
I don't want to spoil the story for this one. This guy Varanus, which this is another Latin word, giant lizard. He's going to be a main antagonist throughout the series.
I mean, you don't even need to know that. You just see it from that image itself. It's obvious this is a big baddie. This is a big baddie, and like that's who you want to you want to go see this fight in the book. Like, damn, look at that guy. And like it looks amazing what battle they're going to have. It's gorgeous. I love the weaponry and this and stuff. Like, damn, those capes. Oh,
and getting back to the reviews, Derek Flaming, I got to say thank you to this guy because he was my first backer in the first campaign. So, and he supported me again. So I gotta give a shout out to this guy. So thanks, Derek, for supporting the book, for actually leaving kind of a review on Twitter, which is now on the second campaign. Also, Muskie Elon and Move the Needle. That's what I'm trying to do. That's, I think, what everybody should try to do. I think people look at, and I remember last year talking about this hashtag Move the Needle. Larry, Move the Needle is like it's like I don't want to say make America great again, but it's like make things better than what they are, right?
Well, that's initially what it was supposed to be. Yeah, people have twisted the meaning of Move the Needle to whatever kind of fits their narrative, and they definitely have labeled it. And no one can tell you this more than maybe say a Peter Simeti when he retweeted someone thanking him for alternative books, and they put hashtag Move the Needle. He came under fire for using quote unquote a Comicsgate hashtag.
It's really
So there's So there's still some stigma behind that hashtag Move the Needle because initially from as far as I know initially came from Zach, your boy Zach, and he started using that hashtag when he was on the Twitter, and so it has some stigma with certain people, but it all what really matters is how you feel about it.
And to me, it's not a bad thing. I mean, Move the Needle is a positive thing. Obviously, a lot of us are unhappy with what's going on in the mainstream. I stopped buying DC and Marvel in 2007. I think I found out later it was a book. It was, I think, Catwoman and Batman, where there was an anti-gun thing in there. And I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. And I found out later that I think EVS was the artist on it. And maybe I'm wrong, but there was just an anti-gun message. And I live in Minnesota, and
I think you actually can be okay with an anti-gun message in Batman because he always that was always
right.
It's like,
but it wasn't because he was Batman.
Well,
it was because of
Batman. Batman doesn't use guns, and he's usually he doesn't kill, right?
He also he has done before is also slight statements, kind of like that, but it's always done very nicely. Like it's always about like, hey,
preserving life. Yeah. It's all about preserving life, stopping criminals, and letting them actually experience the true meaning of justice in the justice system, the criminal justice system, right?
Yeah, it's like but along with that, like he has a big he's against guns because guns killed his parents and stuff, and he's like guns cause problems. So it's like understandable that they would do that to him, but other people, it's always like, we're going to do a anti-gun message for this random character. It's like that random character kills people.
Except for Batman Beyond, the cartoon series Batman Beyond. He ended up having a heart attack because he was 50 and picking up a gun and shooting.
He did. That's why he stopped, because he was so disgusted that was the only way he could save somebody. He was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, look at me. Look what I did. So he realized by the time that he was about to break his morals, he wouldn't do it anymore. In fact, in one story as well, Peter did get a gun in Spider-Man, but this was the MC2 line. He when he had to go fight Normie as the adult Normie had to he got a gun, but he couldn't do it in the end.
Right. And Albino Thunderbun says it was called The Way of a Gun, written by Gail Simone, drawn by EBS. Apparently he has a video describing how that project went sideways, and what Gail pitched is not what Gail delivered. So I guess I'll have to search out that video and go watch it. I thought I saw something mentioned in a stream by him that he drew it.
I mean, maybe this is why I heard that like Gail and him didn't get along or something.
Okay.
I mean, I know there was like something that happened. Like there's always a story about EBS and Gail. I don't really fully know it though, so I'm like, but. Yeah.
So Keegan Hall, this guy, the last review. This is a guy who. This is why it's I didn't put this. Actually, this review section was put by the person who helped me put the campaign together. Yeah. But I'm glad they did it. So. This is kind of like my moment. It wasn't. I was raised and taught that you do what you say. You do what you mean. You say what you mean. You mean what you say, type of thing. Okay. So it wasn't funded. It only reached 16%. But my goal and my plan, because I worked it out ahead of time, was to finish this book because I thought it was a reasonable story, even though it changed in the midst of the campaign. I kind of had to make changes. You kind of realize some things don't work, and that's kind of the process that I talked with Larry earlier. I sent my artist 5 pages at a time. He came back with art. It gave me inspiration for different things. I made changes where necessary, right, to make a more fluid story. But this, that was that first campaign. People helped me or tried to help me, and I think I set the bar a little too high, knowing that it was going to be, completed, and I was going to do everything in my power to complete it and deliver. And I've backed, a Kickstarter in the past before. It was a bad experience. And I didn't want my story, my name, to be, dragged through the mud, so to speak. I wanted to deliver what I was delivering because I knew it was going to be better than the words I could put it into. And I felt like once people got it in their hand, good things would happen. And so far, good things have happened. And it's proven it tonight. People are coming back and backing more. And I thank every backer who's come back from the first campaign because, they're helping me get 60% funded, and they're helping me towards, the big picture, the long game, as so to speak, because it's really not about this first book. It's about everything that follows and to be successful.
Well, I gotta go and run. I hate to say it. But
No, that's fine. Thanks for joining us, Nerd. I appreciate the input, and thank you for backing my book and any support you can throw my way.
I'll appreciate it. Yeah, I'll help out.
Yeah, it's actually the same story here. I'm still at work, so I gotta jet too.
Awesome. Thanks, Larry. I appreciate it. I appreciate your input.
Thank you guys.
Yep. You guys take care.
All right. See ya.
So I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. I just want to run through this. This is Fantasy Cast. It's been a while now we've been on. Samuel Jackson wants another shot at a Star Wars character, Mace Windu. Mace Windu was one of the most iconic, I think, characters in the prequels, other than Darth Maul and Darth Sidious. And I think this is a character that could come back through any means, like Darth Maul, no matter what, and deliver an outstanding performance, and people would accept it. At least that's what we think now. With Disney, Star Wars, anything is impossible. Anything is possible. Joke. So, Salt Lake City, Samuel Jackson, and this is from who writes this? Sam Bigelow. No idea who this guy is. Desertnews.com. He's out in Utah. Home country of Nerd Wonder. So Samuel Jackson took his final bow, or headfirst plunge, in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. But the Mace Windu actor would like another stab at the character. So last we left off with Mace Windu. He was, forced pushed out a window after getting his upper arm chopped off by Anakin. He was electrocuted by Palpatine and blown out the window, right? And we've seen over the years, several concepts have been out there of a Mace Windu who's been half cyborg, maybe have survived the plunge. There's a story in, I think it was Thrawn, maybe a different book, where somebody had his lightsaber. They bought it on kind of a black market. So they had that in their collection. And there was some character of influence. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure in the comments below somebody will correct me. But comicbook.com reports Jackson appeared on The Late Show, where he was asked by Stephen Colbert which character from his career he'd like to play again. I think this is pretty much a setup question because everybody knows. And this has been out there the last couple of years where Mace Windu's come out and said he's wanted to play Mace Windu again. I think generally it would be a positive response from fans because after the last two movies, it's kind of been depressing for most. Samuel Jackson says, "I'd really love to give one more run at Mace Windu in Star Wars." Of course, audiences last saw Windu confronting Chancellor Palpatine after discovering he was a Sith Lord in Revenge of the Sith, but instead of dealing a final blow, which he should have, to the weakened villain, Anakin Skywalker cuts off his hand. Palpatine then uses his Force lightning to throw Windu out the window, presumably to his death. And they give a link you can see it on YouTube. However, Jackson feels like the injury or fall likely wouldn't keep Windu down, which I 100% agree. So I've said this multiple times. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I started reading Star Wars back in the mid-90s with Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, The Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. The one book that stands out in my mind that was strictly about Mace Windu was Shatterpoint. Shatterpoint was a force power that Mace Windu was able to perceive these weak points in the Force, whether it was in the human body, in a joint or a bone, or just a weak point in a machine or whatever it was. He would see this weak point. And you saw it in the Clone Wars, the original series, the cartoon series back in 2003, 2004. He would hit this weak point and shatter whatever he was hitting because he could sense it in the Force, right? So, it's like a Kung Fu master hitting a pressure point. He would hit this pressure point and things would just shatter. So the name of the book was Shatterpoint. So him falling from a long height, Mace Windu was a powerful enough master. And I'm going to the comments. Albino says Sam Jackson is at least 70 years old. God bless him, but I want to see an 80-year-old Mace Windu with mechanical spider legs. That is correct. However, Mace Windu's character, I think, was much younger. I think in the series he was like between 40 and 50, maybe 50, his character. But anyhow, so him falling out of that window and being blasted out by Palpatine, he would have found his power was there, so he would have found some way to land that would have saved him. Obviously, it would have been some damage, as Albino Thunderbuns mentions, because concept art that fans have created shows him with mechanical legs, maybe half, an eye, like not Judge Dredd, Terminator or RoboCop or something to that aspect. And you can Google this stuff. Most people that are Star Wars fans or otherwise have probably seen these come across at some point. But so Jackson says he feels like the injury or the fall likely wouldn't keep Windu down for long. There's a history of one-handed guys that were Jedis that have lightsabers that still made it. So he's attributing Luke Skywalker or Anakin Skywalker losing their hand to him falling out a window and surviving or being replaced body parts or whatnot, which, yeah, it's along the same lines. So a little bit different, but Windu was also a more powerful Jedi, I think, than Luke Skywalker. He studied Vapad, which is a combination of a light side, dark side form of fighting, and it kind of teeters to the very edge of the dark side. And you accomplish things through that fighting form that would maybe be perceived as falling to the dark side if you did it. Like, it's more of a malicious fighting style. But and they kind of attribute his lightsaber color to that, because blue is good, red is dark, and them mixed together is purple. Anyways, I don't think that's been totally confirmed or not. It's hard to keep track, since 2012 and Disney kind of redoing everything here and there. But so Jedi can fall from incredible heights and not die, right? We see Luke Skywalker fall down in Empire Strikes Back. He gets sucked in to the trash. It's kind of like a trash compactor or recycling, whatever it is. He gets sucked in. You see in Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon falling from great heights. Or, I'm sorry, Obi-Wan falling from great heights and Darth Maul falling from great heights and surviving and landing where they should. But it's Star Wars. It's fantasy. Anything can happen. But it says Jackson has spent a few years advocating for his own return to the galaxy far, far away, even going as far as asking fans at Star Wars Celebration 2 years ago in 2017 to make it happen. The actor has also said he'd be interested in a Mace Windu origin film, according to comicbook.com. Helping Jackson is the fact that Windu's fate has never been 100% confirmed. According to EW, Entertainment Weekly, Jackson claimed in 2016 that Star Wars creator George Lucas was on board with Windu's survival. Well, of course he is, because Samuel L. Jackson is one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, one of the highest paid black actors in Hollywood. So any film that he's going to be in, he'd be paid a lot of money, but he's going to rake in a lot of money. I mean, I like Samuel L. Jackson, besides Snakes on a Plane. A lot of people like Samuel L. Jackson. They will go to the theater because Samuel L. Jackson's in a movie. I just finished watching 2 days ago, Kong Skull Island. I've never seen it before. I'm getting back into this monster phase. I want to see all the monster movies, Godzilla, King Kong. We had Wolfman a couple of years ago. Obviously, The Mummy, horrible movie. But anything with with also Mace Windu, but Samuel Jackson's going to be popular with the fans, especially now. And then George is like, I'm okay with it. You can be alive, Jackson said. So that's pretty much the brunt of, or the extent of the article. And Albino says, I don't know what the in-canon reason for Mace Windu's purple lightsaber, but in real life, Sam Jackson told George Lucas that he wanted a purple lightsaber, and George said, okay. Yes, he did. That is true. He said he wanted something different. He wanted purple. George Lucas said, okay. And I think what they've done since then is tried to make it into canon, explain it away. And sometimes things you don't want explained away, you just want to accept them at face value because they're cool little elements to the story. And I think that's a problem that we have right now in Hollywood with Marvel and Star Wars in particular for me, is that they're trying to explain things too in depth. They don't take it at face value, whatnot. So yes, you're right. Samuel Jackson wanted a purple lightsaber, and I think it was a good choice for the series, for the prequels. It was cool. It was a cool element. I didn't need an explanation for it. I think most people didn't. But, when Disney gets their hands on things and they want to explain away everything and detail everything and convolute everything. So one thing you don't do is convolute Star Wars. Big mistake. So that's pretty much the article I wanted to get to, other than Guardians of Erloth. Go check it out on Indiegogo. Link is in the description. And if you don't want to back it, awesome. If you can't back it, awesome. Share it. Share it with people. Get the word out. Let people know. It's a 24-page fantasy, beginning of an epic story over 4 volumes. And I thank you for you guys' attention. It's been a long stream. Thank you, Thunderbuns. Thank you, everybody who's joined in. Thanks, Nerd. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Drawn Talk. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mike, 60 Reese. Thank you, Mike Soyo. I appreciate all your support. The link will be in the description below. You can follow me on Twitter at Chael Roberts, on YouTube right here on this channel, on Instagram, Scribe of Erloth. I appreciate your attentiveness. You guys have a good evening, good weekend, good night.